And we're live with a lot of media news today. Big media, big layoffs, you guys. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. This is the future, right? But you look over at what's going on over at CNN, over at CBS. Stephen Colbert, he is out. There are major layoffs, top talent, bracing for this at CNN. Meanwhile, what's going to happen to the Wall Street Journal? Donald Trump is suing him. Going totally nuclear over a report he says is totally fake. Rupert Murdoch, founder of Fox, watch out. Lots going on here today on the Trish Regan Show. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. Great to have you here. I want to start here on CNN, for goodness sakes, as well as CBS preparing for a storm. We've talked about this a lot, right? The media industry is changing. And as a result of that, some of these big networks, some of these big cable companies, they're not quite keeping up with the times. And it's caused some financial issues along the way. And it's also caused a lack in viewership, et cetera, et cetera. It's quite obvious when you look over at CBS or you look at something like a CNN right now. It's hard for them to keep up with this changing media landscape. On top of which, they just have their own sort of, well, how do we say, extreme liberal bias. And that extreme liberal bias is costing them both in terms of viewers and also in terms of goodwill, shall we say, vis-a-vis the administration. So it all complicates the situation. We're looking at a restructuring as we speak at CNN. The company, the parent company, is trying to kind of figure its way forward in this new landscape. And what it's realized is that the cable assets are like dead weight. You know, you get all the Anderson Coopers and Jake Tappers and other ones running around, and they're costing you a lot of money, and they are not helping to bring in any kind of profitability. So, you know, push comes to shove, what are you going to do? You're going to fire them, or you're going to cut their salaries if they're willing. So CNN right now, the overpaid talent now, they are bracing themselves for some deep cuts. The story first appearing in the Washington Free Beacon. I'm hearing from sources internally. Well, you know, I know a lot of people in the media, shall we say, and they are very scared and they are very nervous and they are looking around because they're trying to figure out where else they can go. You know, the salaries that they were once paying, they just don't exist anymore. Or if they do, the company's paying the price for it. It just doesn't make sense. If you look at this story that came out recently, it was talking about how Warner Brothers Discovery, which is the parent company, of course, of CNN, was making the announcement that CNN and other declining television assets would be split off into a new company that they're calling Global Networks. You see, because Global Networks is the declining business now, while the conglomerate is promising assets such as Warner Brothers Film Studio and the HBO Max streaming service will form another company, the streaming service. You see, another company that investors are going to be a whole lot more excited about. The breakup is expected to take place mid-2026, so sometime next year. But in the meantime, CNN and its celebrity anchors, if you can call them that, they're in for a rude awakening. Again, according to this report, I believe this was in Puck. What they're saying here is that there's going to be a lot of cost cutting. So they've got to try and prepare for the future. Well, how do you do that if you've got all these really expensive anchors running around town? Well, you can lower their salaries. You can get rid of them. I don't know why you're paying so darn much to have a teleprompter reader like Anderson Cooper on the payroll. I mean, I get he was a Vanderbilt and this, that, and the other. But here's a nice, interesting little nugget here I want to share with you. Again, as I said, Dylan Byers of Puck is predicting that it's going to get a lot worse for CNN employees, many of whom have yet to come to terms with the industry's inexorable decline. Layoffs going to be significant. Budget's going to be slashed. You get offices that are going to be SHI, idier, and familiar perks will disappear. This one cracked me up. So I like this. This is the Washington Free Beacon writing. They said former CNN hack Oliver Darcy, and believe me, this guy is a total hack. Not worth your time of day. He's got some little newsletter out now. Anyway, he reports that starting next month, CNN employees, oh dear, they're going to have to start submitting expenses when they submit their expense reports. They're actually going to have to submit receipts. I don't understand how on earth you have a network where nobody has to actually turn in receipts. I mean, like, doesn't every business have to do that? Well, employees, they are freaking out. My God, they're going to have to turn in receipts. Who ever heard of such a thing? Frankly, I've worked at a lot of different media companies throughout my career, and I got to tell you, I've never heard of not turning in receipts. That's just absolutely bizarre. But here's the reality, guys. You know what? It's a garbage network that puts on garbage TV every single day and night, and you know what? The ratings reflect that. But even if the ratings were awesome, it almost doesn't matter because it's not the future. The future is here. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, comment, all that good stuff. But here, look at the garbage that they keep putting on. It's like, it's hard to watch, but watch.
We don't know if they were looking for someone. We don't know if they arrested anybody. But clearly, whoever they were looking for, there was no one there but kids.
Well, I think this is the challenge I have with even talking about this. We are normalizing a government agency disappearing people. We are normalizing, we're talking about it like it's no big deal that they are kidnapping people and transporting them to concentration camps, both domestic and foreign. I think
that's kind of insulting to,
I think it's
Jewish
insulting what they're
Holocaust
doing.
survivors.
It is not insulting to Jewish Holocaust. I find it insulting that you could even fix your mouth to defend this disgusting behavior.
Ovens at these?
It's not a death
It
camp.
doesn't matter. It's a concentration camp what they're doing, and they are disappearing people claiming.
Okay, so I don't need to torment you, but you get the idea. This is what they're putting on TV, and they call that TV. There's no value add in there. They just have these wild fights because somehow they feel like they can channel The View or something. Just low grade television. Justin M., thank you so much for your generosity. It's great to have so many viewers here. Just wonderful. You know, we're coming up, guys. We are coming up on 1 million, which is just incredible because you know what? There's been no advertising. I got to get a website together. I'm going to put my son in charge of that, okay? I got to get a website together. We got to do all these things. I got to get a newsletter together for you. I do have 76 Research. Make sure you subscribe. Code word $. It's going to make you money, so hopefully. Please make sure that you go and do that. You can cancel anytime you're just out $1. Anyway, Justin, thank you. Let's see how well socialism works at their networks. I mean, I hear you. They've all got TDS. It's TDS on steroids. And, you know, there's another example of it here the other night. They're blatantly irresponsible. This woman, I used to actually work with her at Fox, Julie Rodzinski. Then she sued Fox. Anyway, she's not the brightest, shall we say? Like, I mean, I'm just, you know, and it's not just because she's a Dem, but it's because none of these people understand economics, which drives me, yours truly, who started in finance on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs, absolutely bonkers because nobody actually understands what Econ 101 is. And then they think they can do something like, oh, let's look at egg prices over the course of the last year instead of since Donald Trump has become president, because let's just blame all of Joe Biden's inflation on him. Unbelievable, hugely irresponsible, unintelligent stuff. And yet this is what they call television.
I do think the panic over this report today is unwarranted, but I do think data is worth watching every month.
But it's not.
But it seems like a lot of panic for no reason. You're getting matched reports every month.
It's not panic when we were promised on August 15th of last year that the price of eggs, that the price of bacon, and the price of apple.
69%.
Actually, eggs year over year are up by 20. Are up 27%.
They're down.
I'm sorry.
Since he took office, they're down.
But if
year over year.
All right.
He promised when he took office they would go down.
Hold on. Let's not fight about statistics here. She's right. Year over year, they are up significantly. Month over month, they've gone down, but that's from their high, which occurred partly due to bird flu and other things.
Right.
So
let's be very clear. He promised 3 things: the price of eggs, the price of bacon, and the price of apples were going to go down. I can quote him. It was on August 15th of last year. He said they're going to go down almost immediately when I become president. All of them are up. They're up year over year, and that's a fact. And these, you know, you think it's hysteria or whatever you called it. People are suffering. You know how I know this? Because I heard all about that from you last year when I would debate you, and you kept talking about how the price of eggs is really high. Well, guess what? It's much higher now than it was when you and I were debating.
We're literally lying about the eggs.
Wait, excuse me.
Eggs are down.
No, whoa.
Eggs are down.
Guys, stop. Okay, Scott, before
Scott?
you accuse her of lying, I literally just went over this. She is correct that year over year, the price...
Since Donald Trump took office, what happened
Scott,
to the eggs?
Oh, my God. Do you not understand that the difference between...
Who was the president last year at this time?
Scott, do you understand?
And then when did they spike?
I'm sorry, but like, why is this okay to be looking at year over year prices? You see the moronic attitude just because they want some number to fit their statistics. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Price of eggs since Donald Trump became the president of the United States. And take a look at that. We are down big time. Okay, so when you tell me they're up 27%, for goodness sakes, come on. You guys are just gross. That is just unbelievable to me, because the reality is you are cherry picking those numbers, and he wasn't even in office. Unbelievable stuff. Super chat from Justin M. Thank you so much. How hilarious is it that the supposed working class people are trying to twist statistics to try to trick their base into believing that Trump is not actually doing better than the last zombie? I mean, it's awful, okay? It's irresponsible. It is not journalism. It is not journalism. You know what? I can promise you one thing here. You are going to get the truth and nothing but the truth. And sometimes you won't even like it, but I'll always present both sides, and I will always be fair. And I will never twist numbers like that. That is just gross. They deserve all to be fired. I'm sorry. Just get rid of all of them, because the company is suffering, and you got idiots like that on television. You know, he's doing a good job. He's doing a really, 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 really good job. Do I have Tapper? Because, you know, Tapper's going to be out of a gig pretty soon. I bet you look at the talent that's most at risk right now, and I'm thinking off the top of my head, it's probably Tapper, and it's probably Anderson Cooper, only because Anderson is making some god-awful, ridiculous amount of money. If you believe the reports, $15 million for just reading a teleprompter. There's not a lot going on upstairs in the Anderson Cooper brain department, and certainly not in the Tapper department. Tapper is, well, if you ask me, a spokesperson for deep state and nothing more. He does exactly as told when he's told to do it. I love how he came out with a book saying, oh gosh, you know, Biden was in really, really bad shape. Tapper, you were part of that. You were the one that wouldn't actually report on what bad shape he was in. And then when Scarborough asked you, like, what did you see? We got this.
If you're around a guy for hours and hours and hours, I guess the question is, what's the takeaway here? What did you learn? Because did you pick it up in real time?
So, I saw what everybody else saw, right? I saw what everybody else saw, the stumbles in front of the camera.
So, if you saw what everybody else saw, then why wouldn't you report on that? Why would you actually tell us we were all crazy when we did report on it? Because I saw all those too, and I told you guys about it, and I said, this is not normal. Like, this is not normal. And we all knew that. And yet Tapper would sit there with a straight face and actually attack anybody who actually brought this up, including one Lara Trump. You remember this? I'm going to show you.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are
to
no
watch somebody on stage
It's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel
Laura
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy who somehow thinks that, you know, he knew it all along. He's one of the ones that is most at risk at this moment in time, which is, I think, in a way why he came out with this book. He kind of knows it, and that's why he's trying to maybe try and court himself with the conservative media, going on conservative podcasts, trying to like talk a good game as though, oh, you know, I'm the one who called him out. No, you didn't. You're the one who sat there, lied through your teeth, Like, just be honest, people. I'm sick of it. And you know what? The public is sick of it. And this is why nobody's watching you. I mean, CNN's ratings, they're scary bad, okay? They're really, really scary bad. And, you know, they deserve it. I mean, in the meantime, you get Anderson Cooper, like I said, making reportedly $15 million a year for reading a teleprompter. There's never been a teleprompter this guy doesn't want to read. I mean, he even reads the questions, for goodness sakes, off the teleprompter because, when he doesn't read the teleprompter, guess what comes out? Obscenities like this.
Money for migrants, that's okay now?
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Don't put words in my mouth.
So would you stop that? Would you stop that process?
Don't be a dick. What I'm saying is the portrayal by him is just not factually accurate. He's talking
Okay, so you know what? He's one of the ones. These are the hosts. I'm going to correct the spelling here on our lower third. The hosts that are most at risk for salary and job cuts. Maybe a salary cut. You know, Wolf Blitzer, I don't know. What does Wolf Blitzer do for you? I mean, he's the hardest working man in show business. Every time I turn CNN on, he's doing like 3 hours of TV. And, you know, he's got that really terrible anchor that he works alongside who really likes to read the teleprompter, including the questions from the teleprompter. You know how I know this? Because sometimes the guest answers the question before she even asks it, but then she goes and reads the question. And you're sitting there going, my gosh, the guy just said that, for goodness sakes. If you listened, if you could do your job, you would know that. But none of these people actually are good at their job. I don't know how they get these jobs. I don't know how they stay in these jobs. But the truth is, if they were good, they'd be right here. They'd be over here with no teleprompter. No, nothing. No. You know what? It's just me and you here. Whole different ballgame. Make sure you subscribe, share, like. I'll tell you, though, that industry is really, really struggling. And, you know, it's coming at a very good time because Donald Trump is proving them all wrong over and over and over again. And it's kind of funny. I mean, they had to read their own poll the other day on the air. Did you see this one? Let me just share with you CNN having to read its own poll in a state of disbelief.
There's this new CNN polling out today that says quite a bit. Just 28% of Americans view the Democratic Party favorably. And the context of that is the lowest mark for Democrats in the history of CNN's polling going back to 1992. And for Democrats, they have a lot more work to do to win back favorability within their ranks, within the party, than Republicans do.
That must have killed them, right? I mean, their own poll, for goodness sakes. No one likes the Democrats. No one likes CNN. No one likes cable. No one likes network. Everybody is over here, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing for me, obviously, but you know what? It's a good thing for you because you don't have to deal with news that has been manipulated by the higher-ups, the networks that are trying to control everything. And there's a lot of control that goes into it. And there's a lot of bias that goes into it. Colbert is finding out the hard way that, you know, his bias didn't go over so well. They are getting rid of Colbert. No more Stephen Colbert on late night television. They just announced they're going to end The Late Show with Stephen Colbert next year on CBS. Now, they're saying the reason is financial. I'm sure it is. I mean, I'm sure that he costs too much money. I'm sure the live studio audience with the people that tell them to clap and cheer and laugh at any given time, that costs too much money. The View, they're going to suffer the same fate, by the way, because they have the same issue going on. They have way too many producers on the show. And in an environment like this now, where this show is lagging, certainly compared to, say, Gutfeld, they don't need it. Who needs it? I don't need to watch this show. Apparently the ratings were like okay enough, but they're still getting rid of it. Now, why might that be? Jimmy Kimmel, he's very upset about this over at ABC. Oh, how dare you get rid of my buddy? How dare you? How dare you? Oh, and then there were some obscenities involved because that's where they keep going these days. F, everything. You know what, guys? I'm over it. Clean it up. Okay? Clean it up. Anyway, it wasn't just Jimmy that was upset. You had the Atlantic freaking out. Oh, they published a big article last night as this news broke. They were quick on it. How dare you? How dare you? The whole CBS franchise is going down the tubes because Sumner Redstone's daughter wants to sell it to Skydance. And in order to get her Skydance merger approved, Paramount and Skydance, Paramount's the company that owns CBS, well, she's going to have to go through the FCC, and that means that there's a threat of the Trump administration not approving it. I don't actually think that has anything to do with anything. I actually think the show's just a bad show that's costing them way too much money. And if you talk to the CBS people, and that's the party line, right? They're trying to say, oh, it's just too expensive. It's too expensive. Of course it's too expensive because you get Stephen Colbert charging you an arm and a leg. You got a zillion producers that you don't need, and you get the live studio audience that is a complete waste of time. I'm sorry, like, it's done. It's over. Those days are finito, okay? Finito. So we don't need these anymore. And the Atlantic wants to make it political. They're trying to say this is all because, journalism is dead. Oh, Colbert's journalism? Are you kidding me? It's a comedy show. That's all it is, okay? And it's not even funny. It's totally not even funny, at least not for half the country. So it seems fitting that the guy is toast in a moment like this, right? Stephen Colbert, he is out. There's a cute little montage that somebody on Twitter, the Maze account, which is kind of fun. You should follow them if you can. They put this one together. I want to show you because it shows you Colbert through the years and how he changed and how he just got really bitter because of Donald Trump.
Donald Trump has been sworn in as president of the United States. I know. Listen, we're just as confused as you are. Joe Biden did it. I sat down and just started crying with relief. And Evie said, you never have to talk about him again. And then I cried with joy. After a bizarre and vicious campaign fueled by a desperate need not to go to jail, Donald Trump has won the 2024 election. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May.
Sweet Justice. What do you think? Did he deserve it? Okay, so he had TDS. But I do actually believe that it's more than just TDS. I do actually also believe that this medium is done for because there's a way cheaper way to do it and a more sort of authentic, real way to do it. And we have discovered that here. I mean, I'm just so happy. I was telling someone just yesterday, they're like, do you ever regret not working for a network? And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I launched into this 20-minute thing and I'm like, sorry, you kind of got me a little triggered there. I never regret it, not for one day. Because for the first time in my career, and believe me, I've worked for a lot of networks, I have total control and total ownership of what I'm doing and a direct connection and relationship with all of you. And that is worth so much more. We started this channel sort of faithfully going live every single day. We don't even have a regular time slot. We're working on that, but I get a lot going on. I got 3 kids and the whole thing. And by the way, I get so excited about everything that I'm putting into the show. Sometimes it takes a little longer than expected, but we'll work on that. There's New Year's resolutions that we can start in July, right? But what I'd say is the point is we've gone live every single day and we've put out content for you every single day and you guys have responded and it's just an amazing thing to see, knowing that, you know what, you trust me, I trust you, and together we have built something coming up on 1 million subs with no marketing and no outside influence, just what we're doing right here. So it shows you it can be done and this is the right way and you're getting a better quality, more authentic product than what you're going to get, say, on The Late Show with their scripted jokes, for goodness sakes. I mean, it's not even like it's funny, for goodness sakes. On top of which, you know what? It's not just this guy that's over. It's not just CNN that's over. It is NPR and PBS and state media in general. And boy, oh, they hate this over at CNN. I mean, you'd think that CNN was PBS the way they're carrying on with their long faces. The guy who's their media reporter, oddly, he used to actually host a show, which shows you they have no idea how to pick anchors. This is Brian Steller, and here he is.
Not happening now.
No, this is the end of a publicly funded media era. This dates back to the days of black and white television. Back in the 60s, Congress saw a value for PBS and NPR, but no more. As a result of this rescission, radio and TV stations will have to lay off staffers and cut back on programming. Some smaller stations will suffer more than bigger stations, right? Popular shows like Daniel Tiger's.
Ooh, Daniel Tiger, we're going to miss him, right? Not. Anyway, look, it's done. Guys, it's done. You know what, you guys, the bias was too much and the pendulum swings and the pendulum is swinging back to the center and we're sick of all the woke bias and the nonsense and it's coming to a head. Caroline Levitt pointing out, you know what, PBS and NPR, they're not doing anybody any good.
The CEO of NPR, she's claiming that the cuts to their network will, quote, be a real risk to public safety of the country. Congresswoman Murkowski has argued that public broadcasting stations save lives. Could you respond to these concerns?
The NPR CEO said cutting NPR will be a risk to public safety. I am not sure how NPR helps the public safety of our country, but I do know that NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS's White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week roundtable covered up Joe Biden's clear mental divide. That's actually quite the clip. I would encourage all of you to look at it. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money.
Thank you very much. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely, positively. You know what? They've run their course. So they're done. They're over. And TDS killed them, but wokeism killed them. And you know what? There's plenty of other ways. You know, where would you get an emergency alert? You get it on your cell phone. You wouldn't get it from NPR. Come on. Like, we don't need them anymore. Not with all the wokeism that they pushed nonstop. It was really gross. I mean, this woman, I loved this testimony. I showed some of you guys this yesterday. I just want to show you a quick clip, because the woman who ran NPR, Catherine Moore, I mean, she was just totally raked over the coals by Brandon Gill, junior congressman out of Texas, because he came with receipts, and she is so woke. Like, I don't know how you get more woke than this woman. And that's the woman that's running the entire network. A woman who, by the way, did a TED Talk on how there's no such thing as truth. Like, really? Like, I think there's no such thing as truth. Okay, lady. And then there's this.
Would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
God, that's good. Okay, sorry. I'm probably blowing out my audio right now. I'm getting so excited, but that was priceless. Okay, so that is the woman who was in charge of NPR, where she just lost $1.1 billion because the House is going to approve this one too. So it's game over. State media has come to an end. CNN is coming to its end. Colbert has come to its end. CBS, as you know it. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. I don't even know if 60 Minutes really is going to exist anymore, certainly not in its current form. And you know what? That's for the better. Because we're sick of this, okay? We're sick of this. And you know what else? It's getting worse. It's getting worse, and I got a lot of suspicions about the next story I'm going to tell you about, because Donald Trump is now taking on the founder of Fox News. That would be the Murdoch family. Lachlan, Rupert. Well, you see, the Murdochs own the Wall Street Journal, and the Wall Street Journal came out with a really tawdry, disgusting report that suggests maybe Donald Trump had a little more to do with Epstein than you thought. And I don't buy this. And I think that this is like, I'll tell you what I think. And it goes back to my instinct. As we went into the weekend and I heard all that talent that used to be at Fox that now actually has podcasts, but those podcasts are sold by a company that Fox owns. Okay, so just hear me out for a second. It seemed like, to me, kind of like an underhanded way to try and divide MAGA. And I wondered why on earth they might be doing this. And now, as this Wall Street Journal story comes forward, I'm putting the pieces together and I'm thinking maybe there is a method to the madness. Maybe it is actually the Murdochs that are once again trying to take Donald Trump down. Look at this, Trump versus Murdoch. That's the headline there in the Daily Mail. This article that got put into, forgive me, that's one of the authors, into the Wall Street Journal just last night suggests that Donald Trump sent some letter, which, by the way, doesn't sound like him. Elon Musk even was like, this doesn't really sound like him. And apparently they didn't even have a copy of the letter. This is really weird, okay? Like, it's just really, really weird how this all came about. But apparently there's some little picture that he drew, and there's a voice saying there must be more to life than having everything. The note began, and Donald says, yes, there is, but I won't tell you what that is. And Jeffrey says, nor will I. Since I also know what that is. And Donald says, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey says, yes, we do. Come to think of it, I guess this is like maybe some kind of pictures. And Donald says, enigmas never change. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey says, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Trump, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful event. Okay, by the way, that's neither here nor there. I don't know what to make of it. Donald Trump's like, that doesn't even sound like me. It doesn't even make sense. Elon Musk echoing that. And yet they went big time with some article then sort of suggesting that Donald Trump is part of all this. And Donald Trump fired back with, you know what? I look forward to getting Rupert Murdoch to testify in my lawsuit against him and his pile of garbage newspaper, the Wall Street Journal. That will be an interesting experience. Oh, and here's another. He was really angry. He said the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump, referring to himself in the third person, that the supposed letter that they printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake. And if they printed it, they would be sued. Mr. Murdoch stated that he would take care of it, obviously did not have the power to do so. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Leavitt and the president that the letter was fake. But the editor didn't want to hear that. Instead, they went ahead with this false, malicious, and defamatory story. Anyway, President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has to learn to be truthful and not to rely on sources that probably don't even exist. President Trump has already beaten George Stephanopoulos, ABC, 60 Minutes, CBS, and others, and looks forward to suing and holding accountable the once great Wall Street Journal. It has truly turned out to be a, quote, disgusting and filthy rag, and why writing defamatory lies like this shows their desperation to remain relevant. If there were any truth at all in the Epstein hoax as it pertains to President Trump, this information would have been revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked, Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in a file waiting as Trump won 3 elections. Is another example of fake news. Okay, so he's mad, he's angry, he's suing, and he has every right to be pretty mad because, as he said here, they're printing a fake story, a fake letter. I did not say this. These are not my words. He writes, not the way I talk. Also, I don't draw pictures. I told Rupert Murdoch it was a scam and that he shouldn't print this story, but he did it anyway. And so I'm going to sue his you-know-what off and that third-rate newspaper. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Elon weighing in saying, yeah, you know what? It didn't really sound like him at all. Caroline Leavitt also pointing this one out, that the Wall Street Journal published a hatchet job article on a fake birthday letter that is supposedly from 2003. And this is like the Steele dossier all over again. Russia. The Wall Street Journal refused, she said, to show us the letter and conceded they didn't even have it in their possession. They didn't have it in their possession. What the heck are they doing printing a story like this when they don't even own or have the letter? Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. So here's the article. Here, I just want to show you who the reporters are on it. Somebody named Khatija Sanftar or whatever, and then there's Joe Palazzola. And the reporters apparently, here they are. Here's the two of them. Here's their Twitter accounts. Khadija Salfdar and Joe Palazzolo. And one of the things that kind of came up, and a woman named Susan Crabtree reported this on Twitter, is that these are not necessarily what you'd call really experienced reporters, at least not one of them. Not one of them, because one of them actually came from Glenn Simpson's wife's publication. Glenn Simpson was the founder of Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS hired a whole bunch of ex-Wall Street Journal reporters to go and dig up dirt for political candidates. And one of the dirtiest things they ever concocted was, of course, the Steele dossier that was purchased from Hillary Clinton's campaign via Perkins Coie, her law firm, who hired Glenn Simpson's Fusion GPS, who hired Christopher Steele, who hired some more people, blah, 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 blah. You see how this goes. Well, anyway, his wife had a similar kind of operation, and this guy who wrote this story in the Wall Street Journal, he came from Glenn Simpson's wife's publication, Main Justice, which was sort of a similar type of thing where they were doing this quote-unquote due diligence to find stuff. Trump is now suing, of course, the Wall Street Journal. The Twitter person writes over the quote-unquote blockbuster letter story, arguing that it's bogus and that they never should have showed it. And I think he'll actually get somewhere. One of the points, again, being uncovered is that Joe, I guess, really doesn't have a ton of experience. He's been at the Wall Street Journal for a while, but prior to coming to the Wall Street Journal, where he covered, by the way, the U.S. Justice Department, he had been working for this other guy's publication, the wife's publication. So it makes you kind of question, if you would, the chops, and it makes you question, especially as he was covering Department of Justice, just exactly who's at play and why. And I think it's going to become increasingly a bigger story. The other wrinkle to this is you got to ask yourself, if Murdoch is really trying to take Trump down, and he may be, is he trying to enlist the support of some people along the way? Don't forget, when Tucker left, he admitted that the Murdochs, Lachlan, wanted him to run for president against Trump, and I'm just wondering if they still want that. Let me show you this clip.
There's no one who hates Trump more than the Murdochs. I got fired in April of 2023. In May of 2023, they asked me to run for president against Trump and said they would back me. Obviously, I'm not running for any, I would never get elected anyway. Plus, I like Trump. I mean, that's the funny thing is, I actually genuinely, I get frustrated. I'm frustrated now.
So hold on. I'm sorry.
Trump.
You just said that, and they asked you to run for president against Trump, the Murdochs.
Yeah. Lachlan Murdoch said, you should run for president. We'll back you. The whole thing, the whole
Fox News apparatus.
And not just Fox, but, Wall Street Journal.
All of their papers,
Times
everything.
London. Absolutely, yeah, we'll back you.
And that came right from...
You should do that. I was already gone. They'd already canceled my show. I was still under contract, but they canceled my show. You should run. We support you. You should run.
We want to stop Trump.
Yeah, well, he was running.
Okay, so that's kind of interesting. All right, think about that for a second. And now ask yourself, does Tucker maybe have any inclination? Like, did he think that maybe... I think if Tucker ran back then, he wouldn't have stood a shot against Donald Trump, and he knew that. But, and I'd like to think that he doesn't want to run, because I actually think that journalists do a better job being journalists as opposed to being people in the administration. But did you notice how he really went after the whole Epstein thing at Charlie Kirk's event? And I was like... Look, and I get it. I know that we want answers and we should get answers. And by the way, I think we're going to get more answers than we thought we were going to get. But the way that he pushed for it and the way he, went after Ben Shapiro and some other things that happened had my antenna up. And I was very concerned. I actually said to one of my producers, I'm worried that there's some kind of deliberate effort here. I don't know what it is. But don't forget, the company that sells Tucker's podcast now was actually bought by Murdoch, and Lachlan wanted this because they want to have some kind of presence in the new media world. And so knowing that they asked him once before, are they looking at this and saying, this is an opportunity? This is an opportunity. Maybe you take it. Watch.
Notice everyone's been talking about Epstein tonight, and I want to kind of differ from the crowd a little bit in saying that I watched Ben Shapiro yesterday, and now, before you boo me, I thought he made a really solid point. He's like, it happened a long time ago. Who cares? And by the way, we should trust the government and whatever the bureaucrats tell us. And by the way, it's wrong to ask a lot of unauthorized questions. So I just want to go on the record to say I think that's absurd. And it's exactly...
Okay, so he went on and on and on, and it became a bigger issue. Remember, as I said, The company that sells his podcast, that puts the ads into the podcast, it's actually called Red Seat Ventures. And I have a lot of friends over there, whatever. It kind of took me by surprise when Fox went and bought Red Seat Ventures. So now they're controlling the advertising stream that's going into, say, Tucker's show or Megyn Kelly's show. Watch her also taking a different tactic. And believe me, we're all kind of like, oh, with Pam Bondi, if I see her on TV one more time, I'm going to throw a fit. So I don't totally disagree with Megyn. But the way that this was brought up and put onto a bigger stage and a bigger scale was pretty, at the time, I thought alarming, only because of the danger it represents for Donald Trump.
I blame Pam Bondi. I'll tell you why, okay? I have nothing, yes, incompetence, yes. She is the reason that things are unraveling around this story right now that virtually all of the Republican Party cares deeply about. Okay, so what they're saying now is consistent with what they've said since they joined the office, and that is one of the many reasons why this scandal is squarely on her, and I'm telling you.
Okay, but it's not really on her. Because ultimately, and we talked about this, it comes back to Donald Trump. And so you're going after Pam Bondi, fine, but does that eventually lead to you going after Donald Trump? Now, I like Bongino, don't get me wrong, he's a longtime friend, and I consider him the salt of the earth. I think he's got real reservations about everything and didn't like kind of getting thrown to the wolves, so to speak. But the pile-on effect is what has me really, really, really curious, especially given that, well, one, we know that Tucker did not like Donald Trump. Just look at the text messages that were released, okay? A lot of them where he just went on and on about, oh my gosh, he couldn't stand the guy. He couldn't wait till he was out of office. And then don't forget what happened back in 2016. This was actually orchestrated by the Murdochs, and they helped feed Megyn, as I understand it, and look, I used to work there, questions to help, quote unquote, take him down. Watch.
Mr. Trump, one of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter. However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
You had a good comeback on that one. Anyway, the point being that there was a very deliberate effort by the Murdochs to take him down before, and then again in 2020, and perhaps, I don't know, the train had left the station in 24, and there, this is just my suspicion. I'm wondering if they're doing this through back channels. They're not doing it through Fox News, right? Because then the Fox News ratings would plummet. We saw that. Remember when Newsmax was crushing Fox? Well, they don't want that to happen, but they have other ways to go about this. And so then the question becomes, are they using the Wall Street Journal, and are they using some of their quote unquote talent that might be able to help drive this wedge? And they are their talent. That's the irony of it all, right? Both of them left Fox. And by the way, I have other friends over there that left Fox as well, and somehow they're all back working for Fox. I'll tell you, this is the beauty of independence. I love my independence here on the Trish Regan Show. So thank you for all of that. But I just question the motives of what's going on. Why do you want to tear the whole thing down? Look, I got to tell you, I give Anna Paulina Luna credit. She tweeted something out. She has been, and I actually know through sources, she has been working aggressively, very hard at the White House all week with the president to try and figure out a solution to this whole thing. Because don't forget, she's in charge of, in the House, unveiling all of these classified documents. And so she is privy to a lot of this. And she's basically going through this with a fine-tooth comb to say, listen, can we get some of this stuff out? Maybe to, satiate people, but also to put some of this rumor mongering to rest. And so sure enough, after her diligence and hard work with the president, we saw Pam Bondi just last night say, President Trump, we were ready to move forward. Today, this was last night, to unseal the grand jury transcripts. So some of this should be coming forward very soon, and I consider that a good thing. But it shouldn't have to come to this. It really shouldn't have to, you guys. And I do worry that there is an effort underway to kind of take him down. How weird is it that James Comey his daughter was the one who was in charge of the investigation into Epstein in the first place? Or how weird is it that she was also in charge of Diddy. Like, this stuff is all sort of bizarre. I do think that if they had something way back when, they would have gone with it, but they don't really have anything. They don't think they have, and they don't know what they have. And so they're just seizing this opportunity because they can tell that the base is mad and they want to run with it. But I'll tell you, it's not working. It's not going to work because you look at the poll numbers, any which way you slice it, he is rallying. You know what? The base is with him. We're with him. We know the success that's happening, and here's the numbers. CNN had to report them.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all of these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down with Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% with Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real.
Yes,
in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Look, I'll tell you, like, they're with him. Ken Langone, the founder of Home Depot, coming out and saying, this guy is fantastic. I love him. I love him. I love him.
Look, let me tell you right now, I am sold on Trump. In fact, I'll say this. I think he's got a good shot at going down in history as one of our best presidents ever.
That is a real turnaround because you didn't want to vote for him.
I tell you the reason. I want to tell you, I'm a believer. What I'm seeing happening is absolutely nothing short of a great thing. And there's a beat. People are walking
it's
with
great. You know what? So the base is happy. The Democrats are plunging. The CNN poll showing they're at 27%, barely. I mean, bad.
There's this new CNN polling out today that says quite a bit. Just 28% of Americans view the Democratic Party favorably. And the context of that is the lowest mark for Democrats in the history of CNN's polling going back to 1992. And for Democrats, they have a lot more work to do to win back favorability within their ranks, within the party, than Republicans do.
But you know what? He's going to continue to triumph. He really will. Mark my words. Mark my words, guys, because he is killing it. And you know what? You look at the economy, you look at all the good stuff, you realize that inflation is coming down, and this is what we need, okay? This is exactly what we need. Boom! We just got some breaking news here on the Trish Regan channel. We have hit 900,000. Leslie knew this was going to happen. Leslie, yesterday, one of our faithful viewers who has been here from the very beginning, she was saying she wasn't going to make it today, and she knew we'd be at 900,000. So this one's for you, Leslie. Thank you so much for all you guys have been doing to keep this channel going strong. We just crossed over 900,094. Wow. I mean, we're gonna get to 1 million. We're gonna get to 1 million really, really soon. So thank you, guys. This is the future, okay? As we started the show and we talked about the mess that CNN is and the mess that CBS is and all of these sort of staid, boring, network-controlled, managed platforms. This is a totally different operation right here. I mean, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad, right? Occasionally. We just got the camera. We got a new camera, right? And finally it's in focus. But that was a whole thing. We've been through it all together. You know it, right? You know it. But, we're like a big family here on the Trish Regan show and on this channel. And I so appreciate your patience and your love of truth because we are on the front lines of history together and we really need to protect what's going on. This is a president who can do so much good and already has done so much good. And there's going to be a lot of people, including people on the inside, that want to take him down. And I'm just telling you, we can't let it happen, okay? Together, we are a force. We are an army. Let's make sure that we keep going strong. Thank you so much for all you do. God bless America. God bless you. Thank you for the 900,000. I'm going to be joining you. Charlotte, thank you so much. I'm going to be joining you actually on the road. I've got some work to do where I'm going to be traveling, but I am back here still again, live tomorrow, believe it or not, on a Saturday. Thank you. Oregon with me, Oregon of all places. It's good to have you guys here. We will talk again tomorrow live.